Okay, today is January 16th, 2023, and I want to talk about AB 890, as I've been promising, to provide you an overview of this bill that was enacted into law as of January 1st this year and impacts nurse practitioners. So let me start a screen share here. See if I can do this. This is, okay. So overview of AB 890, clearing the confusion. If anyone has ever attended any of my webinars before, you know that I always provide wolf trivia because wolves are a passion of mine. The wolf fact for today is that wolves have webbed feet with lots of fur between their little toes so that their paws act as snowshoes because they typically live in very snowy areas in the wintertime. Two wolf organizations that I have worked with here in California are the California Wolf Center out in Julian, which is a captive breeding and release center for the critically endangered Mexican gray wolf, and Apex Protection Project. And this picture of this wolf is Riggs, who is a resident of Apex Protection Project. Let's move on to the next slide. The disclaimer: nothing contained in this presentation is intended to be or should be taken as specific legal or tax advice. The information contained herein is generally informative in nature and does not necessarily apply to any specific situation or legal need. Attendance at this presentation does not create an attorney-client relationship nor an expectation of confidentiality for anything you may disclose to the presenter in the questions on the YouTube channel. And I also have done this live, so that applies. So AB 890, let's go to the nursing board website. I'm going to stop the share and reshare to another screen. And let's find that Microsoft Outlook. No, that's my, here we go, Assembly Bill, AB 890. Okay, don't want to share my email with you. Okay, so here is the nursing board website that talks about what's going on with AB 890. And as you may already know, there will be two new categories of nurse practitioners, the 103 category and the 104 category. 103 category puts the nurse practitioner into the transition to practice mode. So in order to become the 104 category nurse practitioner, which is a nurse practitioner who can function and treat patients without supervision on their own, and they don't have to have a supervising physician. There doesn't have to be a medical practice in place. They can have their own practice. This is what everybody's been waiting for to find out about. In order to do that, you have to work in the 103 category first for 3 years. And that is what is articulated here. Now, in order to be a 103, be in the 103 category, you have to, the 103 category says the NP will work under the provisions outlined in the Business Professions Code without standardized procedures in a group setting or with at least one physician or surgeon. Okay. That is your transition to practice. In order to, let's go down to number 9 here. These are the frequently asked questions. This is just the easiest way for me to relate the information to you. Here's the issue that applies to many of my clients, because I primarily work with med spas and other concierge practices, and a lot of the med spa NPs have been excited and looking forward to the possibility of being able to function independently. Unfortunately, the short answer to this question, and I have said this before in a previous email to all my clients, is no. The question is, can a 103 NP or 104 NP work in any content area without standardized procedures? No. An NP can only become certified as a 103 or 104 in one of the 6 categories of national certification that are now available. And these are listed here below. You all know them: family nurse practitioner, adult gerontology, that's primary care or acute, neonatal, pediatrics, primary or acute, women's health and gender related, and psych. There is not an aesthetics category here. So in order to function independently, a nurse practitioner has to be certified in one of these 6 areas, must apply for the 103 nurse practitioner classification, and then engage in their 3-year transition to practice in the area in which they are nationally certified. So in the scope of practice of one of these 6 areas. And then at the end of their 103 transition to practice period of time, they can apply to and become a 104 nurse practitioner, which is functioning independently without supervision at all. Now, a lot of people were wondering as we led up to 2023, well, I've been, practicing under physician supervision for way more than 3 years in my area of certification. Can I use those 3 years? No, you cannot. You must apply now, and starting now, because there's specific criteria for that supervisory phase, that 103 phase, that you have to meet. So no nurse practitioner is going to be a 104 nurse practitioner until 2026. Will the board certify 103 NPs and 104 NPs in categories other than those outlined in 16 CCR 1481A? And those are these 6 categories here. The answer is, according to the Business and Professions Code, a 103 or 104 NP must hold a certification in one of those 6 areas under the Advanced Practice Registering Nurse Consensus Model. Licensure occurs at the level of the population foci. So these are population foci areas, right? So you must have your certification in one of those areas as core competencies are aligned with the role and the population foci. Therefore, NPs who wish to progress to 103 and 104 can only do so in whichever of the 6 categories are outlined in these 6 categories in which they receive their national certification. So even if you have a national certification, let's say a family nurse practitioner, because that's one of the broader ones, if you apply for 103 and 104 status, you can only do so in that family nurse practitioner, working with that population focus, and you can only practice in that area. While the board goes on to say, while there are other certifications such as emergency NP, dermatology NP, they are recognized by the board as specialty practice areas, but not a population focus. So the 6 categories that they're referring to, that they're going to allow the 103 and 104 NPs to apply in, have to do with a population focus, not an area of specialty. They do not replace the national certification. They do not expand the scope of practice beyond the role or population. Consequently, the board cannot grant 103 and 104 NP status in additional specialty areas. Here's the key, and this is what gives us hope in the area of aesthetics. However, the board is open to future discussions with potential rulemaking actions to address the inclusion of specialty practice areas within 16 CCR 1481A. So this is the primary information that I wanted to provide for you. And then we go on to looking at what the, okay, where's my PowerPoint? Here we go. What the scope of practice is for a family nurse practitioner, because I have had clients propose that because a family nurse practitioner can treat patients throughout their life, that should include aesthetics. Here's the question. This explains the scope of practice. And here's the question. When you did your FNP certification, was aesthetics covered? And the answer to that is no. Therefore, family nurse practitioner does not cover you to function independently in the area of, let me go back to this because we don't want to end it yet, in the area of, it does not qualify you to function independently in the area of aesthetics. So let me go to stop share here. So this is not happy news for a lot of people, because there are a lot of people who were looking forward to being independent in the area of medical aesthetics. And, you know, this is all I do. You all know that I also defend a fair number of board investigations and accusations under the nursing board and the medical board. And what I can tell you is investigations are rampant in medical aesthetics. They, as you know, some of you may know, I think that everybody I know has either had a complaint filed against them or knows someone who had a complaint filed against them. And that's telling and applicable to this area of medicine. And I preach to my clients day in and day out. And if you're working with me, you've heard me say this numerous times. This is not getting your nails done. This is not going to a beauty salon. Medical aesthetics is a medical practice. And the charting and the OSHA and the HIPAA requirements and the patient care focus must be the same. And the boards, the nursing board and the medical board, consider it to be the same and hold you to the same standards as providers as any other practice of medicine, OBGYN, psychiatry, urology, orthopedic surgery. I'm just thinking about all the different practices that I go to. Oncology. You are in the practice of medicine. And one of the reasons that there are so many complaints filed, well, for one thing, it's very competitive. And I've had competitors file complaints against each other. I've had ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends file complaints against someone just out of spite, which is really mean, because it is very stressful and very expensive to deal with one of these investigations. And heaven forbid it moves to the level of accusation, because then it becomes extremely stressful and expensive. So the bottom line is that we all have to function with diligence and with compliance in mind, because the boards are looking at patient care as the primary focus of the services that we're providing in medical aesthetics. So we want to make sure that patient care is our number one priority, not revenue production. Now, we all have to earn a living, and if we can't be successful and support ourselves, the practice, mine and yours, will close down. However, we have ethical standards that we have to comply with. I have ethical standards. Attorneys have to take an ethics exam separate from the bar exam, and we are required to attend ethics-related continuing legal education courses in every 3-year period. We have to have a certain number of ethics units in our continuing education. We are in professions where we have state licenses that gives us a lot of, I like to say, we know stuff that other people don't. We can hurt people and we can help people to the extreme, more than many other professions. And because of that, we are held to a higher standard of care under the law. That's why we are so closely monitored by, in my case, the Bar Association, in you all's case, the nursing board and the medical board. So people get a little cavalier in this area of practice and get focused on, being a celebrity injector and the beauty aspect of it. And patients and providers get very casual about it. And as you know, there are risks, and we can really hurt people in medical aesthetics. There are, vascular occlusion is one of the biggest risks that you all have. And so, being really careful about that is important. But your charting is really important too, because if you ever do get, I provide you all with many tools, record-keeping tools and guidelines, so that you will practice within the confines of your compliance rules. You have to take responsibility for your charting, so that if someone ever does look at your records and your charts, you have done everything right. I can't help you with your charting. So that's my lecture on that. So the bottom line is, as of now, medical aesthetics is not going to be an area where a nurse practitioner can apply for or engage in practice in the 103 and 104 categories. As I said, the board may consider other areas, but it's population foci. So how can we, and if you're involved in any of the lobbying for the nursing board, how can you put medical aesthetics into a population focus so that the board might consider it? But let's talk about the upside of this. The upside of this is, as a nurse practitioner, if you have to be supervised by a physician at all times, you have a higher license where the buck stops at. So if anything goes wrong, you're not the last stop for any claims or complaints that happen. You have a physician whose license is the last stop for complaints and claims, any kind of like malpractice claim or anything like that. Another thing that might happen, you all might see, and I'm sure I'll hear about it, is that malpractice rates might go up for nurse practitioners if they move into that 103 and or 104 category. But having a physician who has those extra years of training and that extra level of experience might not be such a bad thing for you to bounce things off of and to be the ultimate responsible party in this. So at any rate, that's my summary of the AB 890, what's happening now, what's available to you all. As always, I'm available for questions. Ask me questions I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel. You can ask me questions. You can find me at scheuflerlaw.com and on my Facebook business page, Scheufler Law, the med spa attorney. So I wish you all the best of luck and keep making people healthy and beautiful, and take care of yourselves.